Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today I am extremely excited because we get to bring you the second Memory Museum piece to be released. This is the second statue in this brand new company's brand new line, and I loved the very first one, which was the African white rhino. It was a pretty historic figure in my channel's history because it also debuted regular animals on the channel. But this time we actually do get to review something prehistoric from them, and as you can see quite obviously in front of you is an incredible image of the Smilodon, and as you can also see right under it, it does in fact say Prehistoric Cat Smilodon Statue, limited edition, and then under that it states that it is sculpted by Sean Cooper. It is in 1/15th scale, which you can see in the bottom left hand side, and then of course the Memory Museum logo is there on the right side. I really love the image here on the front, showing both versions of the Smilodon with an incredibly cool backdrop right there. It really is a beautiful looking box, I will say that. I'm super excited about this line, I truly am. This line is one of the things I think I'm more excited for than most companies that are currently producing figures, just because there's so much potential, and the fact that everything in the line will be in 1/15th scale is just so unbelievably cool to me. On the side you can see there is a little bit of information about the Smilodon itself, and then on the right hand side you can see that there is kind of a preview, a sneak peek of a few of the upcoming prehistoric mammals that will be included in the line, and one that I am unbelievably excited for that I actually did not know prior to this box that it was being released is the woolly mammoth. I was aware of Homo sapiens being made, but not the woolly mammoth. I cannot wait to see what Memory Museum can do with a woolly mammoth. But again, a very cool image of the Smilodon here on the side, along with a little bit of information there at the bottom. And then if we flip and spin the box around, the side doesn't have anything at all, but up here on the top you can see an ever so slight silhouette of the Smilodon up there as well. So this is a very, very nice, very high quality box to go with an incredibly cool statue. I'm sure I actually have both versions here for us to look at that you do see on the front of the box right there. So let's go ahead, open the box up, and bring them in to look at. So here is the base of the very first one, and here is our Smilodon, and it attaches to the base really nicely. Once again, just like the African white rhino, it attaches with magnets, which I just absolutely am head over heels in love with that because it's so cool and so easy to attach your models to the base. There's no pegs involved, so it's not complicated in any way, and it's extremely sturdy. You can see I can actually pick the base up with the model on it, and that is unbelievably cool to me. And then we've got the other base, which is the same style as the first base, and here is our other Smilodon, which attaches also just as nicely as the last one. Both of these are absolutely beautiful looking here at first glance. I really love both of what I'm seeing here. I can't quite decide which one I actually like better. It's really tough. I think the one on the right, I'm not really sure why, but the paint application just looks really beautiful on that one. But then again, so does the one on the left. I'm not really sure, but one thing I am sure of is the fact that I want to get a closer look at both of these, so let's go ahead and do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the very first Smilodon, the one that I think potentially might be my favorite, you can see that the head sculpt is really, really nice looking overall. And I love the fact that the mouth is open so wide because it shows the inside of the mouth really, really nicely. You can see the teeth along with those very trademark saber-toothed tiger fangs look incredibly nice, but the entire inside of the mouth in general almost has kind of a bloody type of a look to it. And you can also probably take note to just how insanely nice the inside of the mouth is as far as being glossed. The sculpt work inside really looks beautiful. It honestly looks like a real living animal's mouth, but on top of the sculpt you can just see how beautiful that gloss is. Really, really nice looking. If we look at the actual fangs, they are actually impressive beyond belief. They really genuinely look like real teeth. I'm not quite sure if it's a certain material they used or a certain paint that they used on it, but look how realistic that is. They genuinely look like real teeth. This is extremely impressive to me. just how realistic they look. You can see them shine so beautifully, and the coloration is pretty much spot on to what I would expect to see, along with a little bit of color difference the closer you get to the gum line. That is extremely nice. Look how beautiful this looks everywhere inside the mouth. If we look up here, you can see that the nose looks to be sculpted really quite nicely. They've given it a nice blackish coloration here on the edge, but a little bit of brown on the front of the nose. You can also see like some spots here on the front of the cat's face there on the snout. The eyes look to be painted really quite nicely as well. They're actually almost a little bit hard to pick up on camera, and I'm not sure why. There we go, we can see it there. You can see the eye has very nice placement as far as the pupil goes, and the coloration of the eye definitely looks very realistic. It also has a nice gloss to the eye as well, and you can see there's kind of a whitish color bordering the outside of the eye along the eye socket area, and that really helps to elaborate the eye, and I think that definitely was a very nice touch. There's also a blackish coloration that kind of borders the eye inside the white, which really gives it some very beautiful color difference, but helps the eye to jump out at you so well. The sculpt work on the overall head looks really nice as well. You can see some very nice beautiful fur sculpted out here and there. The ears look to be sculpted really nicely. The overall appearance of the head definitely has a very ferocious appearance to it, and it is definitely sculpted really beautifully. You can see the entire skull shape pretty much, but it doesn't look shrink wrap to me at all. Nice fur here on the lower part of the jaw. You can also see a little bit of saggy fur here in the throat, and definitely some really nice fine fur here in the neck region. You can see kind of some folding going on here of the skin and the fur right there, because the mouth is open so wide it's kind of pushing the skin back, bunching the fur up and the skin up, and that's really beautiful attention to detail. The paint application in general on the face looks great. I love how many different variations of color you have all over the place. It is pretty much painted to perfection, and there's no sloppiness anywhere that I can see. Really beautiful work as far as the paint apps go in this one. If we look up here in the back of the neck, look how beautiful that fur looks. It looks really nice. I think they did a great job overall sculpting out the fur. You can see the shoulder blades here protruding from the skin. As you come down here, you can again pick up on the bone structure of the animal. It looks very strong. Exactly what you definitely would see on a real living Smilodon. Very nicely sculpted feet up here in the front as well. You can kind of see the nails right there a little bit. See there? They're inside the fur at this moment, but I'm sure if you made this Smilodon angry, those claws would appear very quickly. I love how they painted this. There's a very nice dark wash that's been given that really helps to bring out the sculpt and detail quite beautifully. You can definitely see the spinal column of the animal running down here along the back, and the fur is really fine up here on the top, but then it starts to get a little thicker as you go down the body, but it still stays pretty fine down here as well. You can see the skin stretching here as this rear leg is pulling back and stretching that skin. Really nice sculpt work here on the rear leg as well, and you've got this very short tail in the back. Definitely very nice. I like that they've made the tail a darker coloration than you see up here. Primarily it's like a brown, a very light looking brown, but there's so many variations of darker shades and lighter shades of brown throughout, giving it such an incredibly realistic appearance as far as color tone goes. Very nice musculature here in the thigh, and you can see the hip bone right there as well. Really nice bone structure the whole way down. Skin stretching here a little bit, but not too much. And you can see the skin stretching there as well as this front leg is pulling forward. Definitely some beautiful musculature here as well in this leg, along with the very nicely sculpted shoulder blade up there. And then you can see some more of that fur up here on this part of the neck, and we get back up to the incredibly nice head sculpt with those super realistic looking teeth. And then on the underside also looks really nice as far as the fur sculpt goes. So overall, this is beautifully sculpted. It really is a fantastic addition to my collection, but also to the Memory Museum line. And now we have the alternate version. Now, both of these are the same sculpt, so we don't really have to look at the sculpt of this one because it's exactly the same as the opposing one, but the paint is different on this one, and you can see the inside of the mouth once again looks unbelievably nice. The detail, and on top of that, the paint apps on this just makes it look so ridiculously real, and you can definitely get a sense of the blood inside the mouth of this one, a good bit more so than you saw on the other one. you can again pick up on just how beautiful that gloss looks on the inside of the mouth. It looks super real, and these fangs up here, the saber-like teeth, look unbelievably realistic yet again on this one. Man, that's just insane how real they look. You can see the eye is painted really quite nicely, and I do love that the nose up here is an orangish color, which really makes that kind of striking looking and jump out at you. I definitely like the coloration of the nose on this one more than the other one, even though the other one, I think overall it would be my favorite paint scheme. Once again, you can see the eye is very nicely painted on that side, and you have that same kind of white ring around the eye like you saw on the other one. The paint application on this one really looks beautiful as well. You can see lots of variations of browns and blacks, and there's kind of like a black stripe that leads back from the eye, but then the lower you get the nice white jawline and the white on the underside here. It's kind of actually more like a gray or like an off-white. You got some spots here and there, and the further back you get into the body, you can see that it kind of picks up this very splotchy type of a color pattern, almost cheetah-like in a way. And it definitely looks really cool. There's areas that are a little bit lighter, and then there's areas that are darker, and it gives it a very, very cool appearance overall. Definitely a creative paint scheme, but then something that looks similar to modern day animals, so it's a potentially realistic paint scheme as well. And you can see lots going on this side as far as those spots. Really looks beautiful. Overall, the underside is again a whitish or like a grayish type of a color. So this one looks awesome, just like the other one. Really fantastic stuff. I love both of these and super happy to have them in my collection, but I'm also extremely excited in general to see Memory Museum adding to their line and pulling out some new figures, as we've only had that African white rhino previously, so for us to have finally a prehistoric animal as well is awesome. And the bases, I do believe, are the same. We'll look at them both regardless, but you can see it's just kind of an earthy type of an appearance, almost like a mix of a dusty area, but sort of slightly muddy, and you can see the footprints there that you would place the animal's feet into that hold the magnets to hold it on there very nicely. Throughout the base, there is definitely some incredibly nice sculpt work. The base overall, as far as this earthy type of an area, looks pretty much just like the African white rhinos did, so they all have a very similar feel, I think, which is really cool as well. The actual underside of the base feels extremely high quality, definitely has some very nice weight to it, but I also love this kind of stylized pattern that they've got going on here, giving it almost a marble type of a feel and look, which gives it an extremely high quality feel as well. And then if we look at the underside, you can again see Memory Museum, Prehistoric Cat Smilodon Statue, Limited Edition 1/15 scale, and it again says that it is sculpted by Sean Cooper, who is one incredibly talented man as far as sculpting animals and prehistoric animals in general. And you've also got these kind of like rubbery type circles on the bottom to make sure you don't damage whatever you put it on, and it does stay nice and firm and still. As far as the other base, yeah, it definitely looks to be exactly the same as the other one. The underside is also the same, and I don't think there's really any color difference or anything, maybe some slight variation just because these are all hand painted, but overall it looks pretty much the same. Very beautiful, very high quality, and a great addition to this already incredible set. As far as a size goes on our Smilodon statues, again, I did say that they are the exact same sculpt, the same size and everything, so we really only have to measure one. For a length on the Smilodon, you're going to see in a length it's about 6 inches or 15 centimeters. As far as a height on the base, about a little over 3 inches or about 8 centimeters. Off the base, about 4¼ inches or around 11 centimeters. So it's not very large. It's not near as large as you saw with the African white rhino. And again, with them all being to scale to each other, that 100% makes sense. It's almost a little hard to pull him off. You can actually see that the Smilodon can stand on his own. He doesn't need the base. He can actually stand really quite well, pretty stable actually. So that's a huge plus if you want to take it off of the base and just in general maybe take some pictures of it or something, which I intend on doing. As far as the base goes, about 6½ inches for a length, or about 16½, maybe almost 17 centimeters. And then if we go for a width, about 3½ inches or 9 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is the Papo T-Rex, and standing next to the Papo T-Rex, you should probably be able to tell that these are actually decently sized. Definitely not small by any means, and honestly, they are a beautiful size, something that you don't really see with resin models too often. They normally end up being very large, but being all 1/15th scale, these smaller animals like the Smilodon end up coming in a really beautiful, very nice size, and that's a huge plus. If you are kind of running out of room, you can get an incredibly highly detailed, beautiful Smilodon statue here from Memory Museum and add it to your collection without overrunning the place. And you should, again, hopefully be able to get a good idea of what that size is next to the Papo Rex. Definitely a very nicely sized Smilodon statue. So the Memory Museum line strikes again when it comes to pure beauty. This is one of the lines that I am the most interested in because, again, everything being 1/15 scale in it means you can all size them up to each other and they will be the realistic size among one another, which is awesome. You don't really get that too often from any company, really, especially when it comes to resin models, and especially something so beautiful as you see here. So the fact that they are all 1/15 scale is just unbelievable to me. That kind of idea just blows me away. And you can see that in general they are extremely well sculpted. If you are familiar with Sean Cooper and any of his work, you would know for sure straight away that these are pretty much sculpted to perfection as far as all the very nice, very fine details go. The sculpts of these is really beautiful, very menacing looking with the way that they are kind of in mid-roar, maybe screaming at each other. And you can see as they are next to each other, facing off against each other, they really do look cool and potentially could make one heck of a beautiful diorama by adding the two of them together. In fact, I think that this is really a beautiful way to display them, is to pretty much buy both and then have them maybe facing off as they're sort of rivals to each other or something like that. This really is such a beautiful appearance to it once they're actually facing each other. Very, very cool. And one thing I'm actually noticing right now is that the teeth on the one on the right is definitely a slightly different coloration from the one on the left. The one on the right maybe has like a little bit more of a bloody appearance to it, has kind of a reddish tint to the teeth, and that's something that you don't see on the one on the left. The one on the left has more of a clean appearance to the teeth, which is really interesting because the one on the right also had more of a bloody appearance to the inside of the mouth and the tongue and everything. So I think that is really, really cool as well. Just check that off as another addition to this already amazing set that I definitely love. I think the paint apps on both of these are really nicely done. They did a great job differentiating them from each other. When it comes to different paint jobs on the same type of an animal, you've got two Smilodons, so to come up with a different paint scheme for each one, I think they did a great job on the choices, and both look very natural, very realistic, something I could without question see a Smilodon being. And I think the paint apps are also really beautifully applied. They look very natural, they look very realistic. Nothing about either of them screams paint, it honestly screams body color. If you are into Smilodon, without question, you should look into getting a hold of these because these are the two best Smilodon that I now have in my collection, and I am positive about that. Both of these look beautiful. So if you are interested in picking these up, I will throw a link in the description where you can go straight ahead and do just that and buy either of these or both of them. I personally would recommend both because they both look awesome, and I would have a very hard time deciding which one I'd like better. Originally, I kind of started out thinking I liked the one right here, this one on the left, better, but now I'm not really so sure. Looking at both again together here, they both look awesome. It's such a very hard decision, honestly. Regardless, they're both awesome. I highly recommend picking up both of them. So again, check the description. Definitely look into buying Memory Museum pieces and help support that company, as that company is pretty new, and I'm sure they could use all the purchases and support they can get to continue on making beautiful statues like this and further their line and make many more statues in the very near future. I know they have things like the Dilophosaurus planned and an elephant and all sorts of things that are coming out from them that I just cannot wait for. So definitely think about helping to support this company, pick up these beautiful Smilodon statues, and we can all sit back and look forward to what's next from Memory Museum. So make sure you check the description, go buy one or both of these, but before you do that, don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.